Welcome everybody. What's up? What's up? We are going to get going for today. This is Benji Bruce, Speaking Lifestyle. Today we're going to talk about how to make you sound more in demand when you're talking with people, whether it's on the phone, in the email, whatever it is. So let's see who's hopping on real quick. But basically, this is one of the things that I thought about years ago when I was getting myself booked. And I thought in terms of what makes a difference between the guys who are just completely filled up with their schedules and everybody else who has a freaking ghost town schedule. So what makes a difference? And that's how I really started learning to talk the right way in my emails, because for the longest time, I was wondering, like, why the hell am I not getting booked, right? I was confused as all hell. Like, why am I not getting booked? And so I started doing little things to actually fill up the schedule. And this is one of those little things that really worked. So I want to talk about this. We're going to go over a real email conversation. So what's up, Maggie? What's up, Kathy? What's up, Sophie? What's up, Alex? Ben? What's up, people? All right, yeah. So this is like one of the biggest things, and I keep mentioning this in terms of how you need to sound more in demand when you're talking to people, and it's one of those things. It's almost like fake it till you make it, right? People who fake it till you make it, you can usually see that they're faking it. Like you can usually see through this whole aura. And the same goes with sounding in demand. When someone tries to like really sound in demand, you can actually see that they're not really in demand. And so this is one of the things where it's really, really hard to do. But if you do it the right way, you'll naturally fill up your schedule easier. You'll be able to charge more. I mean, this is one of the things where you have to master it. When people tell me that cold emailing doesn't work or cold calling doesn't work, I always think, no, it's you who's not working. You aren't doing it right. Cold emailing, cold calling, the stuff works, but you're not doing it right. And when people don't do it right, it's because they don't really sound in demand. So I want to go over a real email conversation that a Speak Pro member posted. I just removed some names and stuff, but this is a real email conversation, and you'll be able to see the difference between how you should and shouldn't do it, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. What's up, Anna? What's up, Paul? What's up, peeps? What's up, everybody? So like I said, I mean, this is the one thing that you have to change, and this is why all you members, all the Speak Pro members, you guys need to post inside the group in terms of the conversations you're having, because you can send out all the emails you want. You can contact all the people you want. But if you're not saying the right things in the right way, you're going to wonder why it's not working. And it happens all the time. People are like, oh, I sent out emails, but it's not working. It's not working. It's not working because you're not doing it the right way. You're not saying the right things. You got to practice this, just like any type of persuasion, any type of sales. You got to practice getting really good at it. You got to practice sounding like an in-demand speaker. And so I just want to lay out everything. I'm going to go over this conversation, and we're going to just talk about this whole conversation pretty much. So let's just get into it real quick. Let's see. What's up, Felicia? All right, so let's get into it. So here's the conversation. So basically, before this email took place, the speaker and the person in charge, I guess, they talked on the phone, and then this email conversation took place. So here's how it goes. So they sent Speaker X, I'm calling him Speaker X, they sent him this email. They said, "Good afternoon. It was truly a pleasure speaking to Speaker X this afternoon. We would like to receive a formal proposal for Speaker X's availability for a speaking role at our 2019 event. He would speak from 9:30 to 10:45 a.m. on either Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Please let us know his availability for each of the 3 dates, as we are still nailing down our final meeting agenda and considering where best to position Speaker X in our event. We look forward to receiving the proposal, and we look forward to the possibility of working with Speaker X in Arizona." That's the first email you get. Now, for those of you speakers inside the Speak Pro Academy, you know the pipeline is simple. The pipeline is incoming, questions, quote, contract, and closed. So what do? Whenever you get an incoming lead, the next step is it's the questions. And after that, it's the quote. Then after that, you send the contract. And after that, the gig is closed, and you either get the money or you don't, right? So you're always following that pipeline every single time. So here they asked them for a proposal. They said, "Hey, we're considering so-and-so, we need a proposal." And they listed 3 different dates. They said Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. So send us a proposal, right? Here's the response that the speaker gave. So they said, Hey, Melanie, or hi, Melanie. First, let me apologize for missing the call on Friday. One of my clients had a little emergency that I had to deal with. I understand from Speaker X that the call went very well. As per Speaker X's instructions, I mailed out 3 copies of his book today, one to you, one to Diana, and one to Stan. Please let me know when you receive them. All right, so that's his response. Now, can you already see what's wrong with this? Like, what's wrong with the response? Hopefully you guys can see it a little bit right now. But they responded that way. Then here's how they responded. Oh no, I didn't finish the whole thing. So he said, I sent out the 3 books. And then they said, he also asked me to send out his standard proposal / contract. Please see attached. Please feel free to email me if you have any questions. Then they said, I know that Speaker X is very excited about addressing your group in January. On another note, Speaker X mentioned that you came to him through a referral from Ken and Jeff. Do you by chance have their contact info, as I would like to send them a thank you note for the referral? Looking forward to hearing back from you soon. So do you see the problem already? There's already some problems. Do you see the problems already? I'm going to continue the rest. And so let's see. Look forward to hearing. So they responded. They said, okay, no. So they didn't respond, actually. They didn't respond. So then the speaker followed up. They sent a follow-up email. And this is the follow-up email. He said, hi, Melanie. Hope all is well with you. Haven't heard back from you since I sent out the proposal, so I just wanted to follow up. Did you have any questions or concerns about the proposal? Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. On another note, did you get Speaker X's book? Looking forward to hearing back from you soon. So basically, they got an email. The person said, hey, we'd love to bring you in. They responded. They didn't hear back, so they followed up. And then here's the response to that. Said, hi, Joyce. Yes, I did receive Speaker X's book, and I'm so excited to read it over the 4th of July holiday. Please thank Speaker X for me. Initially, Stan thought the cost of Speaker X to speak was a bit too high for our budget. He wanted to stay under $10,000. We have an annual internal sales meeting next week where we spend about 3 hours on planning our January event, including the speakers we are interested in retaining for our keynote roles. I can reach out to you on Monday, July 2nd to let you know what was decided. Thank you, so-and-so, right? So do you see how this conversation is already kind of messing up at this point, right? So they quoted, they're like, oh, it's a little too much, all sorts of stuff. It's a little messed up. And the reason is because Speaker X hasn't sounded in demand from the very get-go. So let me continue the rest of this email, and then I'm going to show you what should change, all right? So they said, Speaker X responded with, hi, Melanie. I just had a conversation with Speaker X. He told me that he felt so comfortable on the phone with you, added to the fact that you came through a referral and the fact that he feels that this audience is going to be so perfect for his talk. He authorized me to discount his fee to $10,000. FYI, this is the first time I've ever seen him give the discount. You must have made an incredible impression. The only condition is that this remains completely confidential. Looking forward to hearing back from you soon. Have a great weekend. Then they responded with, they responded with, thank you, Joyce. This is so kind of Speaker X to reduce his speaking fee. We have our annual internal company sales meeting all next week, and we will discuss this gracious offer. I should be able to get back to you Monday, July 2nd. Thank you so much. Then they responded, Speaker X responded with this. How are you? Oh, they followed up July 10th, right? So they didn't get a response July 2nd. The person said, hey, I'm going to respond to you July 2nd. They didn't get a response. So they waited till July 10th. They followed up, and then they said, Melanie, how are you? Hope you enjoyed the 4th of July weekend holiday. Just following up on my proposal, do you have any questions? Do you need any clarification? Do you need clarification on anything? I know that Speaker X is very excited about the opportunity to inspire your audience. Please keep me posted. All the best. Then they responded, this was sent July 10th. They responded July 25th. I mean, these mofos are taking forever to respond. Somebody's going to get pimp slapped because they're taking forever to respond, right? So this is the response. They said, hope you're well. I reached out to, So, all right, I misread that. So here's what happened. The speaker responded to them And they followed up. There's still no response. And then they followed up like this again. They followed up to another person at this point in the company. They said, Diana, hope you are well. I reached out to Melanie after July 4th and received an auto reply that she is out of office until July 16th. I reached out to her again, and after that, have not heard back from her. I went on Facebook, and it appears as if she is no longer with your company. Is that true? Either way, I'm trying to follow up on my proposal for Speaker X to speak at your event. He has reduced his fee, and he is very interested in coming to speak to your group, and I just want to make sure that you are aware of this. Please see below an email testimonial that he received after speaking at the XYZ event. Looking forward to hearing back from you soon. Then they said, they reply with, thank you for reaching out. For our upcoming event, we're going to decline as we are contracted with outside keynote speakers. We will keep Speaker X in mind for future events, right? Now, do you see the problems in terms of what happened in that conversation? This is how most email conversations tend to go with most speakers, right? So they'll get an incoming lead. Let me scroll back up to where this was. So they'll get an incoming lead. Hey, we're interested or whatever. And this is how most conversations go. And here's how you need to fix it, right? So I'm not going to read everything, but let me just kind of go back to the beginning where she said, hey, we would like to receive a formal proposal for Speaker X's availability. We want to receive a proposal. The event is either Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, right? So they have no idea when their event is in terms of the exact date, in terms of when they want Speaker X. They have no idea just yet. All right. And so here was the response from Speaker X's VA, the virtual assistant. They said, first, let me apologize for missing the call on Friday. Here's the thing. Never apologize. You never need to apologize for taking a little bit to follow up with somebody. There's never a need to apologize at this point. It's not necessary. I mean, when you say, oh, I'm sorry for missing the call, it's not necessary. It doesn't really do anything, right? So that's one of the first things in terms of not sounding in demand. Then they said, I sent out 3 copies of his book, right? So Speaker X, the virtual assistant, said, hey, I'm going to send out 3 copies of the book today. Let me know when you receive them. You need to understand that they don't want your book. They want a speech. This is one of the things that I've always thought was interesting in terms of what most speakers do. If you look at most speakers who have a book, they treat this book, they say to treat it like a business card, but that doesn't make sense. That's dumb. Most speakers, they treat this book as if the book is going to get them hired. They don't want a book. You can have an amazing book. That doesn't mean you're going to be an amazing speaker. And so when you send out your book, it won't get you booked. People will book you on a stage, whether you have a book or you don't, whether you send them a book or you don't. And so this is where the speaker, they got off track of the pipeline. Remember, the pipeline is incoming questions, quote, contract closed. So when you get an incoming lead, your next step is always to ask the questions about the event. What are the questions that you need to know in terms of how long, when is it, where is it? What are the questions you need to know? You always ask the questions as a next step. Once you get those answers, you immediately quote a price. After you quote a price, you immediately go to the contract. Nowhere in the pipeline do you say, by the way, let me send you my book, because it doesn't matter. People who will book you whether or not you have a book. It doesn't matter. So this is one of the reasons why you don't want to stray from your pipeline, right? So they said that. Then they said, let's see. Then they said, he also asked me to send out his standard contract, his standard proposal. Please see attached. And then please feel free to email me if you have any questions, right? And so instead, you should have just said, do you have any questions that I can answer for you, right? You don't want to be, this is not the time to be indirect. This is not the time to be subtle. In business, you're not playing a dating game at this point. You're not trying to be subtle. So you don't say like, please feel free to email me questions. It's more like, do you have any questions? What questions do you have at this point? So if you're going to say something like that, just say, do you have any questions? And don't be subtle with stuff like that. Okay. And then let's see. Oh, and then they said on another note, Speaker X mentioned that you came to him through a referral from so-and-so. Do you have their contact info? Because I want to send them a thank you note, right? There's nothing wrong with sending a thank you note to the people who referred you. But this is not the moment to talk about it. when you are having an email conversation with an event, once again, you're thinking about the pipeline, incoming questions, quote, contract closed. The faster you can get them through the pipeline, the faster you're going to book the gig, and the less likely you're going to lose the gig as well. The more you get off your pipeline, the more likely you're going to lose a gig because you're talking about things they don't care about. So when you say, what's the contact info to these people, because I want to give them a thank you note for referring me to you. When you say that, it's one of those things where it's like you don't need to say that at that moment in time because you haven't booked the gig or anything yet. So you don't need to say it at that moment in time. So I would just keep that out. I would say this after the gig is booked, or even after you don't book the gig, whether you book it or don't book it. Even if they say at the very end, like, I'm sorry, we went with another speaker, at that moment you can reply like, okay, well, thanks. By the way, do you have the contact information for so-and-so and so-and-so? Because I just want to thank them for the referral. So you can do that at the very end, but not at this moment, right? It's just like with dating. So you got to do things in the right order. So if you're going out on a date, or let's say you just meet someone and you say to them, hey, would you like to get married? They're like, I don't even know your name. What you talking about getting married, right? You're just doing it in the wrong order. There's nothing wrong with saying, would you like to get married? There's nothing wrong with proposing. But if you do it the first time you meet somebody, it's in the wrong order. And the same goes with this question or this type of statement type thing, all right? And then there was the part where they didn't respond. So they said, they sent the email, they didn't respond. And this is a follow-up. And the follow-up, they said, hey, haven't heard back from you, basically. So it's like, hey, I haven't heard back from you, so I'm following up. There's no need to state the obvious. This is one of the things that a lot of people tend to do wrong when they're following up. They're like, hey, I haven't heard back from you. Hey, I'm just following up from before. Hey, I sent you an email before, right? You don't need to say that. You don't need to state the obvious. And then once again, they said on another note, did you get Speaker X's book? Remember, people don't want your book. They want a speech. Don't try to sell the book. Sell the speech. All right? So let's see. Hold on, let me see some stuff. They got off topic. See all those great insights. Cool. Alex said, I'm still confused on how this company believes that they're talking to the VA when all emails come from the speaker's email address. All right. That's you don't need to worry about something like that. Let's see. They said, I have a friend that says having a book is not about them reading it, but for them to know that you're so good that you have a book. Like the idea that you have a book says something about the legitimacy of a speaker. Is that not good either? It makes zero sense. I literally have never had a book for the public, and I get $30,000 gigs, workshops, everything. I still do not have a book for the public. People do not pay for your book. I'll tell you right now, when you have a book, the only thing that's going to make you come across as legitimate is when you're freaking Tim Ferriss. When you have a book that's a 4-hour work week that everybody knows about. When you have a book like The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, like Stephen Covey. When it's one of those books that just blows your ass up, then it makes sense. But nowadays, everyone understands that you can just go into some type of software or you just go into Google Docs, sit down for 2 days, write a freaking book, title it whatever you want, put it on Amazon, poof, you're an author. It is not a status symbol in any way nowadays. Absolutely none. And on top of that, once again, they're not paying for your book. They're paying you $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for a speech. And so, like I said, people who hire you will hire you whether or not you have a book or if you don't. I guarantee a speaker with a great video of him on a stage will get hired 1,000,000 times faster than any speaker with a book who has zero video footage. Guaranteed 100%. I'm willing to put my entire net worth on that. It just doesn't matter if you have a book. I don't know where this book thing came from. It does not position you as an authority. It doesn't do anything for you. It's like when people think if they get on Oprah or something, then, or Oprah's no longer here, but imagine back in the day, people think if they get on Oprah, their life is made. That's not how reality works. Sure, you may get some sales when you're on Oprah, but after that, your business is going to die down because you don't have a sales process. Same goes with a book. I can't tell you how many people out there are watching this, have a book, and haven't gotten a single $10,000 gig or any gig whatsoever. It is not about a book. It is about a sales process. You put in a sales process for finding and contacting events. That's how you get on stages. This information that's out there with all these so-called speaker trainers, they haven't done a damn thing to get booked on stages. These guys read books. They simply just heard other information about so-called experts and how you need to position yourself as an expert to get hired. They haven't gotten a single damn gig in the course of their life. I'm telling you, this is how you get booked. You do not need a book, all right? It is one of the reasons why these so-called speaker trainers can't go into any detail whatsoever to actually find and get a gig. Instead, they say things like, position yourself as an expert, and then poof, one day you're going to fill up your schedule. Oh, just produce some content, and one day you're going to fill up your schedule. Oh, I'm telling you guys, you got to stop listening to these whack-ass speaker trainers. Stop listening to these so-called groups. Stop listening to these guys. They have no idea what the hell they're doing. They are filling your mind up with useless, pointless advice that will hurt you in the long term because you will do the wrong things. I'm telling you guys, if you are not a member of the Speak Pro Academy, you have to join. I'm not saying this from an arrogant perspective. I'm saying this because to me, it's like I'm a real freaking player and I see these wannabes who read books and I'm telling you their information is wrong. It's not just bad, it's flat out wrong. Like it simply will not help you. You got to understand this. It's one thing to fool people who haven't gotten booked or who don't understand the process. It's the reason they can fool people who don't understand the process of getting booked is because it sounds legit. It sounds legit to position yourself as an expert and authority. And it is true. If you become Gary freaking Vaynerchuk, you will be able to charge $200,000 a speech and fill up your entire schedule if you become Gary freaking Vaynerchuk. But what they don't tell you is it's going to take you 30 freaking years to become Gary freaking Vaynerchuk, and that's a maybe. All right. You guys got to understand that there's so much information out there that's so bad, it's hurting you. You don't realize it. The only thing you need to do to get booked is to have a great website and have a sales process for finding and contacting events. You do not need a damn book. You do not need a damn podcast. You do not need any damn videos. You need a website and a sales process for finding and contacting events. And I'm telling you, I don't care what any speaker out there tells you. They are hands down wrong. They have not gotten themselves booked. They simply built up an audience. They're great at building an audience. They built up an email list. They probably don't even know what a damn CRM is. They built up a freaking audience. They simply sold you guys on a program telling you to get referrals, have a great freaking presentation. They sold you on a stupid ass program that doesn't actually work to get you on a stage. I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you this is how it works. You did not need a book. All right. Now I just went off on a whole damn tangent there, but I'm just telling you guys this is how it works. There's so much bad information out there in this industry. It's ridiculous. And it's the reason it's bad is just because they haven't done it. Like they literally haven't done any of it. Anyone who's done this stuff will tell you, no, you don't need a book. I don't have a book. And anyone who's done it will tell you how to actually legitimately do it. Anyone who hasn't will keep telling you stupid, pointless pieces of advice like build your expert status, which they don't tell you is going to take your ass 10 freaking years minimum to do. They don't tell you that. Instead, they make you believe you can become an expert in 2 months. I'm telling you guys, there's so much bad information out there. It's ridiculous. And you guys got to truly understand this stuff. I mean, it's one of those things where it pisses me off. It's literally the reason why I started Speaking Lifestyle. Here's the thing. You got to understand that I've been doing this my entire life. Never had a job. Literally never had a job. Now, I didn't even know what the words time and a half meant. When my brother said, he was like, Benji, what do you say? He's like, oh yeah, I love this because I get time and a half. I was like, what's time and a half? And he just laughed. He was like, oh yeah, I forgot you never had a job. I didn't know time and a half was overtime. I've never had a job. This is literally all I've done my entire life. And I'm telling you guys that I can see a bullshitter from everyone else. I mean, I can see damn near 90% of all these so-called speaker trainers read some freaking books about authority, being an expert, freaking followed Russell Brunson, stole his shit, freaking took Eric Hoffer, who Russell Brunson took Eric Hoffer's stuff. I'm telling you guys, I know how this stuff works. And if you're not a Speak Pro member and you're following these other guys, I'm telling you, you have no idea what's about to happen to you. I guarantee in a year from now, you're going to be in the same spot as you were. In fact, you're just going to lose money because you spent money on their program that's not going to work for you. I'm telling you guys, you have no idea how bad this information is that these other so-called speaker trainers are giving. Like zero. These other speaker trainers are talking about useless stuff. I'm telling you, you have no idea. I literally the other day I was just looking at other so-called speaker trainers. I'm looking at stuff. Maybe there's something that I can talk about in terms of content, whatever. And I'm just looking at these guys' stuff. I haven't looked at it in a long time. I was like, this is hands down. It's almost like flat earthers, the people who believe the earth is flat. Those are the things that other speaker trainers are teaching you. And you are coming out believing the earth is freaking flat. You have no idea that the earth is round. I'm telling you the earth is round, and these so-called wannabes are telling you the earth is flat. This is how you get booked. You do not need a book. You do not need a podcast. You don't need any of that crap. All you need is a website and a sales process for getting booked. And then you need to know how to sound in demand when you're actually doing this stuff. That is how you get booked. And every day you wake up where you're not actually reaching out to people is a day you just wasted and hoping and praying that you're going to change your life, and nothing in your life is going to change because you didn't do a damn thing for that day. You woke up, maybe you filmed a freaking video on your phone, posted it thinking you did a damn thing in your business. You didn't do a damn thing in your business. You got to understand how real business people operate, how real business people think. You're playing around with all these people who want to play house and sitting there and getting all this bad information. You got to understand that there's these real players in the game who are absolutely destroying you, like absolutely destroying you. You don't even realize it. This is a competition. You need to understand that most people watching this, most of your so-called speaker friends, they will not succeed. They absolutely won't. This isn't no damn think and grow rich, thinking you can believe shit and then stuff is going to happen. This is stuff where I'm telling you 90% of people who do this, they fail. Not most people who try a business fail because they get in their own way without realizing that they're getting in their own way. All these methods of procrastinating. Oh, I got to do X, Y, Z first. Oh, before I join your program, let me write my book first. Oh, before I join. No. There's nothing you do first. You join the program first and you make sure you're doing everything right. You guys got to understand that there's so much ridiculous information out there. I can honestly say there isn't a single speaker trainer out there that I've seen who has great information. Like there isn't. I mean, they have great information in terms of maybe here's how you sell from the stage. Oh, there's plenty of guys that have great information on that. Here's how you sell from the stage. Well, they can't show you how to get on a damn stage because they don't know how to get on a damn stage other than through a referral. They just don't. And so this is how you get on a stage. You have to reach out to people. You have to either send a cold email, cold call, freaking Instagram message, Facebook message, tweet, whatever the hell it is. People will not come to you because you have a damn podcast. You're producing episode after episode, praying and hoping that someone's going to think of you as Gary Vaynerchuk and pay you 10 grand. That is not how it works. All right. You have to sound in demand. You have to truly sound in demand in order to get booked. So let me actually add to the rest of this. Let's see. Nick said, yes, he's struggling with speakers and they keep pushing their book. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Dr. Phil made his career off Oprah. That was when things worked. Yeah, Dr. Phil. Yeah. So, no, I won't go into that. Basically, Dr. Phil did more than just being on Oprah, right? All right. So let's see. Said, what about the value of having a big name or having a big name place you spoke at or a big name university? Yeah, big names, that's all social proof. Yep. So let's see. Cool. All right. So let's get back to let's get back to this in terms of sounding in demand, right? So let's see. Where was the rest of the part? So basically they followed up. So they sent out the email. They didn't respond. They followed up with this response. Let's see. All right, they did that. Then they responded with, all right, the event responded with like, hey, I did receive the book. I'm excited to read it. Then they said, the budget was only $10,000. So what he charged is a little bit too high. Our budget's $10,000. We have a sales meeting next week where we're going to talk about it. Now, the response should have been this, right? So the response should have been something like this. It should have been, Melanie, if I can get Speaker X to decrease his fee to $10,000, then would it be a done deal? I can't make any promises, but I don't want to look bad by asking him to lower his fee, and then it's a no-go, right? So if someone says to you, if they, like in this case, there's a whole email conversation, then they responded with, initially, Stan thought the cost of Speaker X was a bit too high for our budget. He wanted to stay under $10,000, right? Now, the way Speaker X responded to this is that he said, he just lowered his fee. So he just said, I just had a conversation with Speaker X. He told me that he felt so comfortable on the phone with you, added to the fact that you came through a referral, and that he authorized me to discount the fee to $10,000. FYI, this is the first time I've ever seen him give the discount. You must have made an incredible impression. The only condition is that this remains completely confidential, right? So remember, do you see the difference between his response and then my response? So his response was, I just had a conversation with Speaker X. He told me that he felt so comfortable on the phone with you, added to the fact that you came through a referral, and the fact that he feels the audience is going to be perfect for his talk, he authorized me to discount his fee to $10,000. That's what he said. This is what I would have said. I would have said, Melanie, if I can get Speaker X to decrease his fee to $10,000, then would it be a done deal? I can't make any promises, but I don't want to look bad by asking him to lower his fee, and then it's a no-go. Do you see the difference? The difference in my response in saying like, hey, if I can get him to decrease his fee, would it be a done deal, right? So the difference is that I'm still choosing them. Even though I'm decreasing the fee, I'm still saying like, hey, I'm doing this as a huge, huge favor to you. But before I do you that favor, I got to make sure that it's a done deal, right? And so once again, there's a huge, huge difference between something like that, right? So there was that. What else did I want to mention? So there's that. Oh, and let's see, I'm emailing you because Melanie hasn't responded. Okay, all right, and so here's the other response. This is like a little bit of the follow up inside of Speak Pro Academy, where basically they didn't respond, the event didn't respond, then they followed up, so the speaker followed up, then they followed up again because the person must have gotten fired. They looked on Facebook, saw that they were no longer part of the company, and they must have gotten fired. What the speaker should have said, they should have said, hi, Diana, I'm emailing you because Melanie hasn't responded and we need an answer fast because X date is popular. Should I put you down for X date or give it to the other event interested in Speaker X? And something like that where you say like, hey, X date is a popular date. Should I put you guys down or should I just give it to somebody else? This is one of the things, this is like the ultimatum. If you give an ultimatum, then you have to be prepared for the ultimatum, right? So if they actually say, oh, just give the date to somebody else, there's nothing that you could have done that would have convinced them to hire you in the first place. If, on the other hand, if they say, oh, no, we're still interested, at that point, you know they're actually interested. But that's one of the ultimatums that you have to give people when they're just ignoring you. You kind of say like, hey, man, should I put you down or should I just give it to somebody else? And if they say give it to somebody else, you know they weren't serious. Just move on at that point. Here's how the conversation should have went. Notice how quick this conversation would have gone if you were to like think more in demand and everything. Here's how it should have went. So what happened is they should have responded, or they sent the email saying, hey, we like to receive a formal proposal for Speaker X's availability. The event is going to be this date. It's either Thursday, Friday, or Saturday between 9:30 and 10:45 a.m. So if they would have sent me that email, here's what I would have done. I would have said, hi, Melanie, Speaker X mentioned the conversation. I just need to get clear on the details of the event. Question 1, question 2, question 3. I would have asked them the questions. Once I get those answers, I can send you the fee. Bam, that's it. I just would have went straight incoming questions, quote, contract close, right? So instantly they would have said, send us a proposal. At that point, I would have said, oh yeah, so-and-so mentioned the conversation. I just need to get clear on the details of the event. Question 1, question 2, question 3. Just would have asked them the questions. That's it. Then I would have said, once I get those questions, I'll quote you the fee. They answer the questions. Then I would have responded with this. I would have said, okay, perfect. His fee is X plus flight and hotel. I've attached the contract and we'll need a 50% deposit by X date. After that, you're good to go and we can put you on Speaker X's schedule. Thanks. P.S. If it's easier for you to pay the full fee up front instead of writing 2 checks, then let me know and I'll update the contract. Bam. Easy. Easy, easy, easy. That's all you got to do. Remember the process is incoming questions, quote, contract close. That's always the process. The more you veer off that process, the more likely you're going to lose the gig. And so that's how I would have responded. You got to think in terms of when you sound in demand, there's a lot of certainty in your voice, and you're very direct when you're an in-demand presenter in general. I mean, literally just think in terms of what would you do if you had freaking 100 events a year? Like, how would you actually talk? How would you actually respond? You would dictate. You wouldn't ask. You would be the one doing the choosing. You wouldn't sit there and basically have this thing of, oh, please choose me, please choose me. You wouldn't have that. You would be dictating the process. You wouldn't just you wouldn't kind of just hope that they choose you, right? This is why, like, little things where I say, like, check the availability. You put things like that on your website. You put check Benji's availability. Like, that's better than just saying contact Benji, right? So little things like that, it really matters. The basics is you want to think, are you choosing them or are they choosing you? That's how you really need to think about when it comes across as being in demand. You need to be choosing them, not the other way around. People with low value beg. That's how you always want to think. People with low value beg. People with high value choose. So it's very simple. If you sound like you're begging, then you have a lot of low value. If you sound like you're choosing, you're the one with the high value in the situation. So understand that. People with low value beg, people with high value choose. And so you need to be the one doing the choosing as a speaker. Even if your schedule isn't fully booked, even if you literally have 0 gigs lined up, if you start it today, like you literally start it today, you have to get this inside of your brain in terms of you're not begging, you're choosing. You're not letting them choose you, you're choosing them. And you have to truly like come across that way. And this is the other thing. Don't oversell yourself. So if you go back and listen to the conversation, you'll see that the speaker kind of oversold himself. This is what speakers do when they say, like, can I send you my book? And oh, like this. And oh, also watch these videos here. And do this, right? You're overselling yourself. And by overselling yourself, you're basically showing them that they're doing the choosing. So when you say, oh, let me send you my book, you're just overselling yourself. Think about if an in-demand speaker, someone who's insanely in demand, they're like, look, man, I'm so freaking busy. Like, all these people are contacting me. To be honest, if you don't book me today, someone else is going to book me tomorrow for that same date. So they're not going to try to oversell themselves. They're not thinking like, let me send you several copies of my book. And they're not thinking that. They're just like, look, man, if you don't book me right now, within a week from now, someone's going to book me for the same date. So doesn't really matter. That's what's going on inside of their head. They're not going to say that, but that's what's going on inside of their head. And so basically, you need to understand that they want to book you, so get to the point. They want a speaker. They want to pay $10, $15, whatever $1,000. They want a speaker, so get to the point where they can pay you as a speaker. Don't veer off your pipeline in any way. Get to the freaking point, right? And also, there's no reason to say, like, thank you for your response, or thank you for talking to me, thank you for responding to me. There's no reason to say that. Just say, like, thank you, thanks at the very end. You just need to do that in terms of you end the conversation. A simple term at the very end of the conversation is, like, notice how people say, they type all this stuff, then at the very end they say, hope you have a great weekend. Like, remember at the very bottom, just little things like that. You want to think of that little part at the very bottom, the thank you, the thanks, the have a great weekend. That is just a conversation ender. That's all it is. It is not meant to be taken seriously. And so when you take it seriously by saying thank you for your response, things like that, it's once again, it comes across as you're begging, you're not in demand. Whereas when you just think in terms of thanks, it's just conversation's done. Like, this email conversation's done, right? It's like over and out type thing. That's basically what thanks means at the end. When people try to, so basically by trying to build rapport, you tend to waste people's time. So it's one thing to build rapport, but most people build rapport the wrong way by wasting someone's time. And so it does the exact opposite. So you just want to think along the lines of if it doesn't add, it detracts. This is why when you say useless things like thank you for your response, things like that, it doesn't add in any way to the conversation. It detracts. And so that's why you want to leave stuff like that out. And just literally think in terms of, if my schedule was completely booked, how would I literally respond? If I was completely booked, what would I say? You would never try to really convince someone. And this is where what I was talking about earlier, where you can almost tell the difference between someone who's trying to sound in demand and someone who actually is in demand. Because people who try to sound in demand, they try to convince you that they're in demand. And naturally, when they do this, they make things even more complicated than what it should be. And it's because they're trying to sound too in demand, and naturally you start to question it. Liars go into detail. Truth tellers expect to be believed. This is how it's really easy to know who's lying and who's telling the truth. When you're telling the truth, you're like, I didn't steal your iPad. I didn't steal your iPad. Like, one, you get a little bit defensive if someone accuses you. I didn't steal your iPad. But you don't go into detail. A liar would just be like, I didn't steal your iPad. I mean, where'd you leave it last? I mean, who else did you talk to? I mean, last time, I was over there last time, So they go into detail. They try to go into detail to literally try to convince you. And so you want to think along lines of sounding in demand as well. The more you try to convince, the more it sounds like you're begging, and the more desperate you are, and the less in demand you come across. So that's why you don't want to just go overboard with it. It's like if you say I'm busy, like, you know what, I'm really, really busy. I'm a busy ass speaker. It's something that people will question. People say, is he really busy? I don't know. Talking about busy, I don't know about that. On the other hand, if you said, here's a link to my schedule, and then they just see like a huge list of all the events that you're doing or whatever, right? Or even previous events that you did. If they see that, then it's true that you're busy. So if you say, I'm busy, they question it. If you say, here's my schedule, then being busy becomes true. And so you have to think along the lines of, you're not trying to convince. The more you try to convince, the more desperate you come across. And so it's one of those things where, this is a quote from Eric Hoffer. He said, to spell out the obvious is often to call it in question. So I'll say that again. To spell out the obvious is often to call it in question. And that's how you want to think in terms of, busy people don't need to tell you they're busy, because you can see how busy they are. And you want to think the same thing. The way to come across as in demand is to not tell people you're busy or in demand, is to do things like, hey, here's a link to my schedule, where it naturally shows them you're in demand and that you're busy. And so that's how you really want to think in terms of actually sounding in demand. And then also, never, never, never negotiate against yourself. Absolutely never. So like in the email conversation earlier, remember how they said, we'd like to stay under $10,000 for our budget or something. And then he came back and said, by the way, he will do it for $10,000. That's not really negotiating against yourself. What most speakers do is they will say things like, it's $10,000, but for you, we could do it for $7,500. That's negotiating against yourself. You never decrease your price until they literally say, that's more than what we expected to pay. If they say something like that, then you have to come up with a very unique way to basically lower your price without sounding like someone who's desperate, right? And so that's why, like, if you go back and just read the difference between what I said and all that, then you'll see the difference in terms of not negotiating against yourself. So it's almost like this is one of the things that I did all the time when people would say to me, like, he charges a lot. With most people, these are the hints that people would give you, especially nonprofits and everything like that. They'll give you hints to make sure you lower your price. When they say things like he charges a lot, this is where speakers negotiate against themselves. What did you expect? Like, how much were you thinking or whatever, right? Whereas what I did all the time, I would say, he does charge a lot. And I would also say things like, we actually have to increase it next year. So I would do things like that. Like they would say, he charges a lot. He does charge a lot. We actually have to increase it like every single year, to be honest. And so that's how an in-demand speaker actually talks. That's what in-demand speakers really do. Non-in-demand speakers, they do the exact opposite. So you want to literally think in terms of, you're not negotiating against yourself, even when people say you charge a lot. And this is one of the things where, once again, you have to you have to know when to break the rules and when to follow the rules. So if they were to say, let's say I say $20,000, they're like, oh, we only had a budget of $10,000. He charges a lot, right? And let's say for some reason I want to do the gig. Let's say I quote the price, but I want to do the gig. I'm not going to respond with that. I'm not going to say, oh, yes, he charges a lot. We tend to increase it every year. At that moment, I'm going to respond in terms of how can I decrease a price to get the gig, right? So that moment, I would say things like, oh, yeah, he does charge a lot. If I were to ask him if he would do it for $10,000, would it be a done deal? But I don't want to go to him and ask him, and then all of a sudden it's a no-go on your end. So if I were to go to him and actually say, like, instead of 60 minutes, we could do 45 minutes, and he can record the presentation. If I were to go to him with that proposal, would it be a done deal? And at that moment, see, it sounds way more in demand at that point, right? So you want to think along the lines of lowering your fee doesn't get you the gig. It absolutely doesn't. Lowering your fee will never get you the gig. It's not the reason why you got booked. Lowering your fee basically means they're choosing you. On the other hand, accepting a lower fee means you're choosing them. There's a big difference. There's a big difference between just lowering your fee, because at that moment they're choosing you, versus you accepting a lower fee. A big, big difference. So when you need to lower your fee, don't make it come across as if they're the ones making you lower your fee. You need to make it come across as if you're the one accepting a lower fee. Huge difference, right? Just like a little subtle, but it's a big difference. And then the last thing I want to mention is, in terms of coming across as in demand, the best way to come across as in demand is to actually be in demand. The problem is maybe you don't have a ton of gigs lined up, right? So the way to actually come across as in demand is to feel like you're in demand. And you'll feel like you're in demand if you contact a ton of events. Because what's going to happen is when you send out a lot of emails or make a lot of calls, what's going to naturally happen is they're going to reply to you. And it doesn't matter. I mean, eventually someone's going to reply to you. The more you send out, the more emails you send, the more calls you make, the more you're going to get in terms of the replies. What's going to happen when you get a ton of replies? You're going to be like, oh, I got to reply back. Oh, I got to reply back. And so you're going to have this sense of urgency, this momentum going, and you're going to feel like, oh, I got to hurry up. I got to hurry up. And that is going to naturally be communicated in your emails. You use that sense of urgency in terms of all the replies you're getting. You use that to make you feel like an in-demand speaker. And then from there, you'll naturally come across as in demand in your actual emails, right? So that's pretty much the in demand process. In terms of actually coming across as in demand, it's one of the things where if you're reaching out to people and it's not working, is because you don't know how to sound in demand. It's because you don't know how to do it the right way. And this is why, for all you members inside Speak Pro Academy, make sure you're posting the conversations inside the Speak Pro Academy, because this is how you get better. The speaker who posted this, he will get better a lot faster than everybody else who just keeps sending out emails, not posting anything inside the group, wondering what the hell's not working. You have to get feedback to improve. That's how you improve on anything. You do something, get feedback, you reiterate or you change the thing up, then you do it again, get feedback, and you change it up. And so you guys need to start posting inside the group. If you're not a Speak Pro member, you got to join. I'm telling you, you have no idea how long it's going to take you to get booked if you don't understand the process and you're listening to these so-called speaker trainers. Go to speakproacademy.com. Sign up. I'm telling you guys, if you do what I tell you and what I show you, you will get booked on a stage. The only reason you wouldn't is just because you're not doing anything. That's the only reason you wouldn't. And so just understand that process. I can literally claim that too. Like literally, if you're not getting booked, it's just because you're not doing anything. Like you didn't do the website, you didn't set up your CRM, you didn't actually send out emails, none of that stuff. You're not posting inside the group with the email conversations to go over how you sound in the emails. Literally, the only things you have to do to get booked is have a great website and have an outreach process. That's the only thing you need to actually get booked. So if you guys aren't in the Speak Pro Academy, there's so much that you're missing. You have no idea. It's going to take you so long to actually get on a stage if you don't know what you're doing. And I don't want to go on another tangent again, but I'm telling you guys right now, you do not need a podcast. You don't need a book. You don't need to create content. You don't need any of that stuff. To get booked, all you need to do is just have a great website and reach out to people. That's all you got to do, because They are paying for a $15,000, $20,000 speech. That's what they need to be sold on. They're not going to sit there and watch or listen to your podcast for 60 minutes. It doesn't matter how good your podcast is. They're looking for a good speaker. They're looking for someone who can step on a stage and wow a crowd. That's what they're looking for. And so that's what you have to learn how to communicate in your emails when you contact them, or Instagram message, however you contact them. You got to learn how to communicate that you're insanely in demand, because people want to work with someone who's really in demand. And so that's how you really got to communicate with your emails. You got to make sure your website is bomb as all hell, and just keep that up, right? That's how you guys get booked. Any other questions for today? Let's see. So true, everyone keeps telling me. Can't wait to get the funnel. All right, got that. So glad in the program. All right. I remember Doug from Showbiz. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Alex mentioned Showbiz. Yeah, Barry's great. All right, cool. Any other final questions before we are done for today? But once again, guys, I want to stress the importance of the importance of getting the right information. And it really hit me because, like, this weekend, I just looked at what all these other speaker trainers are putting out there, and I was like, it's so bad. It's literally like someone telling people the earth is flat. Like, it's so bad. The problem is that these guys come across as an authority. They're really good at selling their programs. That's what they're good at. And people buy the program. They're really good at that thing. What they're not good at is the actual marketing of the program. Like, what they're not good at is what they're actually teaching. That's what they're not good at, because they don't understand the process. They've never done it before. Instead, they saw an opportunity to go into the speaker market, the speaker training market. They saw an opportunity to build a brand, to build an email list, to sell products in the market. That's what they're good at. They're not good at actually doing the work. They're not good at doing outreach. In fact, I guarantee you, none of them even know what the hell yesware is. I guarantee you, none of them know what systems like that actually are. They probably can't name one outreach system ever. They probably don't know. Well, they do know what a CRM is. I'm sure they do. But I'm telling you guys, you have no idea how bad information is destroying your dreams. You just don't. Like, you think you're getting the right information, and then a year goes by, nothing happened. And so you guys got to make sure you're getting the right information. You said, what if I have a book? So, I mean, if you have a book, you can mention the book on your website, but there's no need to feature it, really. There's no need to feature your book unless you're like damn near Tim Ferriss, where your book like literally did ~1, has thousands of reviews and all that. There's really no reason to feature your book, because why would you sell a $10, $15 book when you can sell a $10,000, $15,000 speech? People aren't interested in buying your book. They're interested in paying for your speech. That's what they're interested in. That's why they went to you in the first place. They're like, hey, we want a speaker. They did not come to you saying, hey, we want several copies of your book. They did not come to you saying that. They said, hey, we want you to speak at our event. And it just so happens later on you can talk about the book. And then on the website, you can post it on the website in terms of where it would be. But once again, 99% of your website or 100% of your website is focused on selling the speech. It makes zero sense to sell a $10 book when you can sell a $10,000 speech. And so that's why your website needs to focus on selling the speech. All right, so let's see. Said, hi, would you be able to comment on my question a few minutes ago? Let's see, where was the question? Let's see if I can find the question. You might want to post the question again. I can't. Okay, wait, hold on. Nope, I see the question. So let's see. You said, keeping the pipeline in mind when you're contacting a high school or college or a college, and presume that the contact person is the principal or student activities person. Is it okay to skip the first email, who hires, and start with the email pitch, why hire me? You usually don't want to skip the first. You usually don't want to skip the first email, just because it's more like saying hi to someone. It's like you going up to them saying like, hi, how's it going, right? So that's what the first email is really about. What you do is you send the first email, and then if they don't respond then you can pitch to them immediately. But very rarely do you want to just pitch, just because it's like literally imagine a conversation, a real conversation that they're right there in front of you. You're at some networking event. You walk up to them and you say, hey, how's it going? My name is Benji Bruce. I'm a motivational speaker. I'd love to come speak at your event. And the speech, it combines mind reading with motivation. And it's really entertaining, engaging. And at this point, they're just looking at me like, what the... Right? Versus me just going up to them saying, hey, how's it going? My name is Benji. Like, yeah, my name is John. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, do you have events and stuff? So I'm treating it more like a conversation rather than a one-way pitch to them. If they don't respond to you, it's usually because they're busy. So that's usually why. It's because they're busy and or because you made it sound like spam. So like you basically sent an email where it sounded like a copy and paste template. And so those are usually the big reasons why people don't respond to you. But the first email, even if you know who you're actually talking to, you just make sure you're talking to the right person. Then you can pitch them. It just opens them up to being prepared for your pitch. That's why you usually want to send that first email. The only exception is if you know you're talking to someone of really high value. So if you know you're talking to someone of high value, then you usually just want to get straight to the point. And this is usually the case when it's other things, like let's say a podcast, right? Let's say you want to get interviewed on a podcast. Then you usually want to get straight to the point. You don't want to say things like, hey, Tony Robbins, are you the person in charge of your Tony Robbins podcast? You don't want to do something like that. That's just dumb. You just want to say like, hey, Tony Robbins, I love your podcast. I think I'd be the perfect guest for your podcast. And then you just pitch in there. But in terms of you actually getting hired as a speaker, you usually don't want to pitch at first just because you're probably going to come across as like spam. You're going to come across as someone who copied and pasted a template. Versus if you send out that first email, it's going to come across as an actual conversation that you're having with them. So you'll just get a better closing rate by doing that. All right, cool. So we are good to go. Time is up for today. Once again, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific time. We are doing these Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives from time to time as well. But once again, Monday through Friday, thanks everybody for showing up. And make sure all you members post inside the group. All you guys who aren't members, go to speakproacademy.com, join. I'm telling you, if you guys want to get booked on stages, everything is there. The support, the resources, the training, everything is there. This isn't one of those BS training things. I'm not going to tell you just go get referrals, and I'm not going to tell you that. I'm telling you, there's so much detail in there that you guys will be overwhelmed, which is why I have so much support inside the group. So thanks everybody for showing up. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Take care, everybody.